up. I'll touch on what's happening with Japan, because a professor from the European Union has come out and said that there was an actual explosion there. But there was a hydrogen explosion, of course, as to superheat the water. But that stuff's radioactive because it's all circulating around the rods and so on. But he goes through this in a video format, and he actually states the same thing that many others have said since, that this is much, much worse than Chernobyl, because they've admitted that the plants will continue to give off the same amount of radiation for maybe 10 months, maybe more, probably a year and a half. And they can't just seal them like Chernobyl. In Chernobyl, the Russians got in very quickly and started to get a dome built over it, or concrete it in, you might say, and tomb it. But you can't do that with Fukushima because it's right next to the sea, and all the stuff goes through the groundwater into the sea. And it's a massive disaster, massive, way beyond what you can imagine. You can't even take the figures which they estimate, it'll kill so many millions with cancer. It's utter rubbish, because, you see, 1 pound of plutonium is enough to kill off all life on the planet. All you need is a molecule in your lung, and that's you gone. So, really, cancer is a wonderful way of depopulation, because when a surgeon sees the cancer, it doesn't have a little stamp on it said made in Japan. You see, understand? It just goes down as another cancer. But we know for Chernobyl, for instance, there's still people born in the wake of the first plume that went over to the north of Chernobyl. For instance, people are still getting the highest incidence of cancers there, young children and so on, birth deformations, that kind of stuff. So we're going to see the same thing on a worldwide scale. And the professor also talks about the levels of plutonium and uranium which hit the west coast of the US, including Hawaii. And it's gone beyond Hawaii into mainland US and Canada, obviously. And they found it even in Europe. Therefore, we got the brunt of it, really, as it came straight across with the jet stream and got dumped through rain, snow and all the rest of it across us. And it's been played down to one incredible extent, especially the proof of it all is if it was as low and minuscule, these minuscule figures they kept giving us, they kept saying tiny, minuscule and safe, etc. If it was as safe as that, then how come every government site, every agency in the world that was run by governments pulled all their sites down so that we could not compare what they were telling us? In other words, they were not safe whatsoever. They were very high, still are high, and it would continue to be high for at least 10 months to well over a year, I think, before they get something done with this at all. It's a massive disaster, and it's been really downplayed. So I'll put that link up. You can see this Professor Busby talking about it, and also I'll put up a link too to show you from Japan that they're so suspicious now of their governments and their media. The government's made a crackdown on all independent reporting from Japan. And believe you me, we don't know different in your own governments. In fact, your own governments have already done it. As I say, they won't even tell us what the official figures are anymore. They've pulled all their sites down. So we're all being treated like children, you see. We're just too silly and stupid to comprehend what's dangerous, and therefore would panic. So they don't tell the children is their typical attitude when they do crisis management. And personally, I really detest being treated like a child with these characters, with the multitude of letters behind their names. These guys are so wonderful. They gave you all this kind of power, knowing darn well it wasn't safe in the first place. And what happens when something happens? They don't know what to do. Some experts, eh? Huh. But then science is the new God, apparently, and that's what they said they'd always make it to be. From Hamish myself from Ontario, Canada, is good night to me, your God or your gods go with you.